Hey everyone, it's Silva and I'm out today doing just a few miles with my full backpack. Well, it's not quite full, it's like 15 pounds just about. Just getting in a few miles. I'll be heading out for my next lash of the Appalachian Trail in less than 4 weeks, so I'm trying to get some more leg time in before I head out. Today I wanted to talk to you about mistakes backpackers make, specifically older backpackers, but really any backpacker, and today I'm going to go over 7 of them. I'm sure there are many more, but I'm only going to touch on 7 today. I recently did a video for 13 tips for older backpackers starting the Appalachian Trail, and if you haven't seen that, I'll link it here, but this is sort of the opposite of that, and 7 things that I think you should avoid doing. Again, these are not in any particular order, but I do hope you stay through all 7 as they are all very important. Mistake number 1, as I mentioned, I'm hiking today with my mostly full backpack. It's about 15 pounds. I don't have food in there, so it will be a little heavier once I add food. But one of the mistakes I want to talk to you about is not carrying too much weight. I recently saw a post on Facebook, and I'm sure it was tongue-in-cheek, but it was a picture of 2 older hikers, probably from the 70s, with these giant backpacks, the ones that had the metal frames, and it said something about, this is what real backpackers used to carry. And back then, that's what they had to carry. They had no options. But today we do have options, and the lighter your pack is, the easier it is to hike, especially as you get older. It's much harder to carry 35, 40, 50 pounds on your back as you get older. It's much harder on your knees and your hips. And why do that if you don't have to? Why would you carry more weight than you need to? It doesn't make you a real hiker. It makes you a tired hiker. So please replace that older gear. Don't think just because it worked 20 years ago, it necessarily still works today. And maybe it does, and that's great. But don't be afraid to get the newer lightweight equipment. I'm not saying go spend thousands of dollars on the, most expensive lightweight gear out there, but upgrading as you can, upgrading as you need a new piece of equipment, not being afraid to use a new style backpack. It is so much more enjoyable to hike with a lighter pack on your back. Number 2, be prepared for the weather, the conditions, or be prepared in case something does go wrong. Of course, we all hope it goes perfectly well and you don't ever need to have an emergency situation. But I am from New England, and every year backpackers get caught where they looked at the weather at the bottom of the mountain, and it's a beautiful day, and they start up a 4,000 footer, and at the top it is not the same conditions. They get lost in the weather, they end up having to hunker down for the night, and they're not prepared. Maybe they're dressed in shorts and a tank top or t-shirt, and it's cold up there. So be prepared in case something happens medically. I always carry my Garmin Reach that has an emergency button. There's many other types of emergency things out there. There's the Spot and many different locators, but as an older hiker, sometimes things happen health-wise, and you may need to hit an emergency button and get help, especially if you're hiking solo. So just being prepared, whether it's for the weather or for an emergency, is really important. Avoid making mistakes where you get in a situation you can't get yourself out of. Along with being prepared, make sure you're telling someone where you're going. If you're going away for a weekend or a day hike, or you're on the Appalachian Trail, just regularly touch base with someone, let them know where you're going, how long you think you'll be gone. That way there's a plan. If you don't get in contact with someone, that somebody knows when you should be back, and somebody knows where you're going, so that if something did happen and you didn't have a communication device with you and you weren't able to hit the SOS button, they know where you should be. That way you have a backup plan. Number 3, and I'm talking from personal experience, not replacing shoes when needed. 2 summers ago, I was going to hike the Grafton Notch Loop Trail. I knew that the shoes I was wearing were really worn out, but I thought, oh, they'll be okay. Before I get another pair, it'll be fine. Well, if you've ever hiked the Grafton Notch Loop Trail or any trail that's got a lot of rock face, it was raining, and I was trying to climb East Baldpate, and the tread on my shoes were very worn out, and like I said, I should have replaced them, but I didn't, and I slipped climbing East Baldpate, and I started careening down, and I could see the cliff looming up coming towards me. I was able to stop myself on a bush, a very tiny bush saved my life, or from a severe injury. It did dislocate my shoulder, and I had to get it back in, and I did struggle for a long time getting up that mountain. Every time I tried to stand up, because my shoes were so worn out, I would slip and think I was gonna fall again. I ended up crawling up that mountain on my hands and knees because it was so slippery. So I should have replaced those shoes before I attempted that situation. So please replace worn out gear and shoes. Here's a clip from me sitting on the edge of the mountain contemplating my life choices and being very afraid that I was not going to be able to make it up that mountain. Whew. Well, I'm in a conundrum. I was doing good on the rocks, and then I slipped and almost fell really far, but caught myself, put my shoulder out a second time, which is insane. And now I just can't stop slipping. I'm slipping all over the rocks, and I don't really want to go down because it seems more scary, but every time I try and walk or climb, I just keep slipping. I don't know, I think I'm going to sit for a minute and take a deep breath. Number 4, not taking a break when needed, not taking a zero when needed. Again, personal experience, pushing my body too hard and not taking a rest. And I think older hikers make that mistake because you're trying to, you know, get the miles in, and that's what I was trying to do. Didn't want to take a break and rest my body because I wanted to get more miles in, and it just ends up hurting you in the long run. So remember, take those zeros and neros. Number 5, not having a good enough sleeping pad. Sleep is so important to rest, recovery, preventing injuries, having enough energy and stamina to keep going. And if you don't have a good sleeping pad or good sleep system, then you're not going to be able to sleep as well. I had to upgrade my sleeping pad because the one I was originally using just was too narrow. Yes, it was a little bit lighter weight, but every time I rolled around, because I am a side sleeper and a back and side, and I roll all around, I would slide off the edge of the pad. And so I upgraded to a wider pad, and it is so much more comfortable, and I can get a much better night's sleep, which is so important. Number 6 is for all hikers, old and young. Don't get so caught up in making miles that you're not enjoying the experience. Last year, when I was on my Lash of the Appalachian Trail, I wanted to see all the sights. And if that meant, you know, taking a 0.1 or 0.2 side trail to go see a beautiful view, I did. I was doing the Virginia Triple Crown section of the Appalachian Trail, and there were thru hikers out there doing the same section. And when I got to Dragon's Tooth, which is only a 0.1 easy side trail from the Appalachian Trail to go see Dragon's Tooth, these hikers that I was talking to did not want to take the time. They'd never seen Dragon's Tooth, but they didn't want to take the time to go that 0.1 to see Dragon's Tooth. And I just thought that, I tried to convince them. I said, you're going to miss it. Have you ever seen it? And they said, no, we don't live around. I can't remember where they lived, but it wasn't local. And they just didn't want to take that time to go see the Dragon's Tooth. And I just can't imagine not taking the time to go see Dragon's Tooth. I may never see it again. So I just think taking the time to see the sights and not being so caught up in getting to Katahdin sometimes that you are not enjoying the experience. Another time, right after climbing the Priest, I believe it was, there was this beautiful, it wasn't even 0.1. You could see the rock that you stood on to look at this amazing, amazing view. It was just phenomenal. And I was with Dooman at the time, and we were stood out there for a while looking at the view and just marveling at how beautiful it was. And I'll try and find a clip and show you right here of how amazing that was.
Now it's charged. I want more.
When we got back onto the Appalachian Trail and we're heading north again, I remember telling some hikers that were coming up to it, they were going southbound. I was like, you got to go step off trail and see that view. And they're like, nah, I ain't got time. We don't have time. We don't have time. We're just going to keep going, keep going. And I just thought, oh man, it's so sad to miss such beautiful experiences. I had another thru hiker say to me, he did not have time. He was done with views. He didn't care. He didn't have time. He just needed to hit Katahdin. And that certainly is his perspective. I just feel like it's so important to be able to see the beauty surrounding us as we go, to keep us motivated, to keep going. So take the time to stop and smell the roses. My 7th and final mistake to avoid is postponing your dream, being afraid to go and try. Yes, I think you should be prepared and ready for the adventure, but be willing to step out and try. Get out there and live that dream. Don't make the mistake of being afraid to fail or being afraid that you're just not good enough. Go out there for a day, 2 days, even short trips. If that's what you want to do, don't be afraid to get out there and do it. All right, those are my top 7 mistakes to avoid as an older backpacker or any backpacker. I hope you guys are all having a fantastic week. I am so close to getting ready to leave for my adventure. I hope you continue to follow along. I will be doing daily vlogs. Of course, it'll take me a week or so to be out there before I can start uploading those. So be patient once I hit the trail, but those will be coming. Again, thank you so much for following along. I really appreciate all the new subscribers, and if you haven't already subscribed, please consider doing so. It's definitely helping the channel grow. Hope you guys are having a fantastic week. Remember to get out and hike, and I'll see you in the next video.